You're telling me Direct charged you $35,000 for not beating you up in high school? Principal Morrison's voice echoed through the conference room as she stared at the invoice my stepbrother had actually printed on company letterhead. Derek sat there in his $1,000 suit, completely oblivious to the security guard who'd been quietly called in, while I watched the principal's laptop screen reflect something that made her face go pale. 47 separate incident reports she'd just pulled up, all with video evidence, all showing exactly who the real bully had been. Derek had arrived at my apartment that morning like he owned the place, which was ironic considering I'd bought it with the tech startup money he'd mocked me for pursuing. He pushed past me, surveyed my living room with that same sneer he perfected at 16, and pulled out an actual manila folder like some sort of collections agent. "Time to settle up, little brother," he'd announced, spreading papers across my coffee table. 4 years of protection services at Westfield High. I've itemized everything, keeping Brad Thornton from stuffing you in lockers, making sure the football team didn't use you as a tackling dummy, general intimidation prevention. Very reasonable rates, considering. I almost laughed until I saw he was serious. The invoice included daily rates, weekend surcharges, and even holiday premiums. At the bottom, in bold, total due, $35,000. Payment expected within 30 days. Protection services, I'd repeated. "Derek, you were the one, whoa. Who kept you safe?" He'd interrupted, straightening his tie. "Do you have any idea how many kids wanted to destroy you? The weird kid who spent lunch in a computer lab? Who wore the same hoodie every day? Who talked about coding like it was interesting? I saved you from social annihilation." The distorted history was so breathtaking I'd actually sat down. In Derek's version of our high school years, he'd been my guardian angel instead of my daily tormentor. He'd rewritten 4 years of systematic abuse into some twisted protection racket where he was the hero. "I'm not paying you $35,000, I'd said. "Then I'll have to pursue legal action," he'd replied smoothly. "I have documentation. Witnesses. Kyle Brennan will testify he saw me intervene multiple times. So will Jake Martinez." Kyle and Jake, his accomplices who'd held my arms while Derek went through my backpack, who'd laughed when he poured chocolate milk on my keyboard, who'd filmed him flushing my calculus homework down the toilet. "You know what?" I'd stood up. "Let's go to Westfield right now. Talk to Principal Morrison. She can verify your protection services." Derek had actually smiled. Perfect. Morrison always loved me. Star of the debate team, remember? Now, sitting in that conference room with its motivational posters and smell of industrial cleanser, Derek's smile was fading fast as Principal Morrison clicked through file after file on her laptop. "Mr. Garrett," she said slowly, "I'm looking at 47 separate incident reports involving you and your stepbrother Simon. Would you like to explain what I'm seeing?" Incident reports. Derek shifted in his chair. Those were probably misunderstandings. Teenage roughhousing. Roughhousing. Morrison turned her laptop around. "Is that what you call this?" The first video was grainy but clear enough, cafeteria footage from September 2015. There was 15-year-old me sitting alone with my tray when Derek approached with his crew. The video had no sound, but you could see him grab my milk carton, shake it, then pour it over my head while his friends laughed. I just sat there, milk dripping down my face, not even bothering to wipe it off because what was the point? Derek started. "That was a joke. Simon was in on it." Morrison clicked to the next video. "And this joke." October 2015. The hallway camera showed Derek shoving me into a locker, not playfully, but hard enough that I bounced off and fell. When I tried to get up, he planted his foot on my backpack, pinning me down while he went through my pockets. "I was checking if he had lunch money," Derek said weakly, "to make sure he could eat." "By taking it?" Morrison's voice could have frozen fire. "Here's November, December, January through March. Oh, this one's particularly interesting." She maximized a video from March 2016. The computer lab camera showed me working on a project, completely absorbed when Derek and his friends entered. They surrounded my station, and Derek yanked out the power cord. Even without sound, you could see me begging as the screen went dark. Hours of work lost. Then Derek grabbed my external hard drive and snapped it in half. Derek's voice cracked. He needed to learn to back up his work. By destroying his backup drive, Morrison pulled up another file. Do you know what was on that drive, Mr. Garrett? His entry for the state science fair, a program he'd been working on for 6 months. He had to withdraw from the competition. I remembered that night, going home and telling my mom I'd decided not to enter after all. The look of disappointment in her eyes. Starting over seemed pointless when Derek would just destroy it again. Let's continue, Morrison said. April 2016, he convinced the cafeteria staff he was stealing food and got his lunch account suspended. May 2016, he filed a false complaint saying he was selling test answers, triggering an academic investigation that took weeks to clear. June through August, surely you took the summer off. Those incidents where? September 2016, junior year, Morrison continued relentlessly. You spread rumors that Simon was stalking Sarah Chin, causing him to be removed from 3 shared classes. October, you accidentally spilled battery acid on his chemistry project. November. Stop. Derek's face had gone gray. Okay, stop. I'm just getting started, Morrison said. We haven't even reached the crown jewel, senior year, when you registered him for the talent show without his knowledge and announced to the entire school that he'd be performing interpretive dance. The security guard stepped closer, sensing the shift in energy. That was character building, Derek muttered. It was assault. Morrison's voice was steel. When he tried to leave the stage, you and your friends physically prevented him. For 11 minutes, while 600 students laughed and filmed. The only reason you weren't expelled was because Simon refused to file a formal complaint. She turned to me. Why didn't you? I looked at Derek, this man in his expensive suit who'd made 4 years of my life hell, and now wanted me to pay him for it. He was my stepbrother. My mom had just married his dad. I didn't want to break up the family. So you endured it. I survived it. Morrison pulled up one final file. Mr. Garrett, are you familiar with the state's anti-bullying legislation? Specifically, the provisions regarding systematic harassment with video evidence. Derek's lawyer brain finally kicked in. Those incidents were years ago. Statute of limitations. Extended to 7 years for cases involving minors with documented evidence. Morrison finished. We're at 6 years and 8 months. Well within the window for both criminal charges and civil liability. You can't be serious. Deadly serious. Morrison picked up her desk phone. In fact, I'm obligated to report this. 47 documented incidents of assault, theft, harassment, and destruction of property. The district takes these matters very seriously, especially when the perpetrator returns to campus making threats. Threats? I didn't threaten anyone. You presented a fraudulent bill demanding money for protection services that were actually systematic abuse. That's extortion, Mr. Garrett. The security guard moved behind Derek's chair. This is ridiculous, Derek sputtered. Simon, tell her this is a misunderstanding. I met his eyes. Is it? Because I have more evidence at home. Screenshots of the Facebook posts where you coordinated attacks. The Twitter account you created in my name posting embarrassing things. The deepfake photos you spread claiming outlaws. Okay. Derek stood up abruptly. Okay. I may have misremembered some details. Misremembered. Morrison's tone could have stripped paint. Sit down, Mr. Garrett. He sat. Here's what's going to happen, she continued. I'm filing a report with the district and the police. They'll determine whether to pursue criminal charges. You're also banned from this campus effective immediately. If you come within 500 feet of school property, you'll be arrested for trespassing. You can't. I can and I am. She turned to me. Simon, I am deeply sorry. We failed you. I failed you. These videos, I had no idea it was this severe. I got good at hiding it, I said quietly. And Derek got good at doing it where teachers wouldn't see. Except he didn't know about all the cameras. Morrison nodded. The security system upgrade in 2015. Full coverage, cloud storage, 7-year retention. Your stepbrother's abuse is thoroughly documented. Derek's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and went even paler. My firm, someone sent them. Oh, that would be me, Morrison said pleasantly. I copied your law firm on the email to the district. 47 video files make quite an attachment. I'm sure they'll be very interested in their associate's extortion attempt. I'll be disbarred, Derek whispered. Probably, Morrison agreed. Fraud, extortion, falsifying evidence. Not a great look for an attorney. The door opened and 2 police officers entered. Derek looked at me desperately. "Simon, please. We're brothers." "Stepbrothers," I corrected. "And you made sure I never forgot the step part. Remember when you introduced me as the charity case my dad made us take in? Remember when you told everyone my mom was a gold digger who tracked your father? I was a kid. You were 18 when you submitted a fake recommendation letter to MIT under my name, telling them I was withdrawing my application. If Mrs. Chen hadn't called to verify, I would have lost my spot." Morrison pulled up another file. "Oh, I have that one too. Forgery, fraud, interstate commerce, that's federal." The officers stepped forward. "Derek Garrett, we need you to come with us for questioning regarding multiple allegations of assault, harassment, and extortion." As they cuffed him, Derek kept staring at me. 35,000, that's all I needed. I have debts, gambling. "So you decided to invent a debt I owed you? For terrorizing me?" "I protected you." Even now, even caught, he clung to his delusion. "Without me, those kids would have destroyed you." "You were those kids, Derek. You were the monster you claimed to be protecting me from." As they let him out, Morrison sighed heavily. "Simon, I need to ask, why now? Why let him come here, make these claims?" I pulled out my phone, showing her my recording app. "Same reason I never fought back in school. Sometimes the best defense is letting bullies hang themselves with their own rope." He came to my home, made threats, demanded money. I needed him to repeat it on the record, with witnesses. "You knew about the security footage." "I work in tech security now. First thing I did when I got successful was request my complete school records. The district sent everything, including video files I don't think they meant to include. I've had them for 2 years, waiting." "Waiting for what?" "For Derek to need money badly enough to try something stupid. His gambling debts, his lifestyle exceeding his income. I kept tabs. When he showed up this morning, I knew it was time." Morrison studied me with new respect. "You orchestrated this. I survived high school by being smarter than him, not stronger. Nothing's changed." We sat in silence for a moment. Through the window, I could see Derek being placed in the police car, his expensive suit rumpled, his carefully styled hair messed up, looking more like the bully he'd been than the lawyer he pretended to become. "The district will want to offer you a settlement," Morrison said finally, "to avoid litigation over our failure to protect you." "I don't want money. I want a program. Bullying prevention that actually works. Cameras are good, but someone needs to be watching them. Someone needs to see the patterns before 47 incidents become a statistic." That's incredibly generous, considering. Derek thought I owed him for not beating me up. The school thinks they owe me for letting him. Everyone's focused on debt and payment. I stood up. "I just want kids to eat lunch without fear, to code in peace, to carry their backpacks without checking over their shoulders. That's not about money." Morrison stood too, extending her hand. "You've become quite a man, Simon, despite us. Despite him." Because of him, in a way, I admitted. Every punch taught me resilience. Every destroyed project taught me to back up files. Every humiliation taught me that dignity comes from inside, not from others' opinions. That's a very mature perspective. It's a survivor's perspective. I shook her hand. "But I'd rather kids not need to develop it." As I left Westfield High for what I hoped would be the last time, my phone buzzed. A text from my mom. "Derek's father just called. What happened?" I thought about how to answer, how to explain that her stepson, the boy she tried so hard to make me bond with, had just been arrested for crimes committed under her roof. How to tell her that our brotherly roughhousing had been documented assault. In the end, I simply wrote, "Derek tried to charge me for something he never did." The truth caught up. "I'll explain tonight." Her response came quickly. "I'm sorry. For not seeing. For not protecting you." "I protected myself," I wrote back. "That's what you taught me." It was true. My mother had raised me to be smart, resourceful, independent. When her new husband came with a son who hated me on sight, she'd done her best to make peace. She couldn't see what happened at school, couldn't hear the threats whispered in hallways, couldn't feel the daily fear that walked beside me. But she'd given me something better than protection. She'd given me the tools to survive. The news spread quickly. By evening, Derek's law firm had issued a statement about his immediate termination pending investigation. His social media accounts went dark. Kyle and Jake, those loyal accomplices, suddenly developed amnesia about their high school years when reporters called. I got messages from classmates I hadn't heard from in years, some apologizing for not helping, some claiming they never knew, some admitting they laughed along because it seemed safer than becoming the next target. I responded to none of them. That chapter was closed now, sealed with police evidence tape and federal investigation notices. A week later, a package arrived at my door. No return address, but I recognized Derek's handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a flash drive. The paper said simply, "You won. Here's everything." D. The flash drive contained folders of photos, videos, messages, Derek's complete archive of my humiliation. 4 years of carefully documented abuse he kept as trophies. The evidence that would have convicted him even without the school's footage. I thought about destroying it, about finally erasing those years. Instead, I made copies and sent them to Morrison, to the prosecutors, to the lawyers handling the criminal case. Derek thought he'd been building a blackmail library. Instead, he'd been creating evidence of his own crimes. Every photo timestamped, every video tagged with participants, every message traceable. He documented his own downfall as carefully as he orchestrated my misery. The final video was from graduation day. Derek giving his valedictorian speech while I sat in a crowd, invisible in my cap and gown. He'd spoken about overcoming challenges, about the bonds of brotherhood, about protecting those weaker than ourselves. His camera, had zoomed in on my face during those words. I wasn't crying, wasn't angry. I was simply enduring, waiting for it to be over, already planning my escape to MIT, to a life he couldn't touch. Looking at my younger self, I wanted to tell him it would be worth it. That the kid who spent lunch in a computer lab would build something Derek could never destroy. That survival was its own victory, but he already knew that. You could see it in his eyes, focused not on the speaker but on the exit, on the future, on a life waiting beyond high school halls and stepbrothers who confused cruelty with strength. Derek had demanded $35,000 for protection he never provided. What I'd actually bought with 4 years of endurance was priceless. The knowledge that I could survive anything, build anything, become anything. Even him coming back couldn't take that away, especially not for $35,000.